Welcome to Unlocking the Upside, where we transform Wall Street expertise into actionable insights for investors like you. I'm Jeff Robinson, and after 25 years in the trenches, from leading a top-ranked research franchise on Wall Street to founding and selling companies, I've learned that the best opportunities often hide in plain sight. Now, as the founder of the investmentanalyst.com and Insight One, I'm here to share the strategies that separate exceptional investors from the crowd. With me is my co-host and professional skeptic, James.
Thanks, Jeff. And yes, I'll be the one making sure we cut through the jargon and get to what really matters for our listeners.
On Unlocking the Upside, we believe great investing isn't about following the herd, it's about seeing what others don't. Each week, we'll pull back the curtain on investment opportunities, decode market dynamics, and reveal analytical frameworks that most investors never learn about. Whether you're managing a portfolio worth millions or just made your first trade, we're here to elevate your investment approach. You'll get battle-tested insights from our decades of experience, practical strategies you can implement today, and the analytical tools to spot tomorrow's opportunities. Want to take your learning to the next level? The Insight One app puts institutional-grade investment analysis in your pocket. Start your free 14-day trial today on iOS or Android and get instant access to our premium tools, detailed market analysis, and interactive learning modules. No commitment, no risk, just professional-grade investing power at your fingertips, ready to see markets through a new lens and uncover hidden value. You're in the right place. This is Unlocking the Upside. Let's dive in. Today we will be taking a different approach. James is going to be answering the questions, and I get a chance to be the one asking them.
Brilliant. I'm going to enjoy the spotlight today. Okay, learning effectively as a market analyst. It sounds straightforward, but what if mastering this skill could be the difference between sinking or swimming in the financial world?
Oh, that's an intriguing way to put it. Are we talking about a game changer here?
Absolutely. We're diving into insights from a Wall Street veteran with 2 decades of experience. He's discovered that success isn't just about how much you learn, but how you learn. And it all started during the 2008 financial crisis.
That must have been a challenging time. What happened?
Well, imagine trying to keep up with 17 financial institutions during the most tumultuous market in recent history. Our analyst was drowning in information, and it led to a major wake-up call when a client called him out for connecting dots that weren't there.
Ouch, that's rough. So how did he turn things around?
He developed 7 science-backed techniques that transformed his approach to market analysis. The first and most powerful is spaced repetition. It's fascinating how our brains form stronger neural connections when we review information at specific intervals rather than all at once.
That makes sense intuitively, but how does he apply this to something as fast-paced as earnings season?
Great question. He's developed a detailed system. On the day of earnings, he focuses only on the key numbers that move the stock: revenue, margins, and guidance. He calls these level 1 metrics. Then 24 hours later, he does a deep dive into strategic initiatives and management commentary.
So he's not trying to absorb everything at once. What happens next?
Exactly. A week later, he looks at competitive implications and reviews the long-term thesis. Finally, a month later, he does a brief check-in to update the long-term thesis. This structured approach helps him process all that information more effectively over time.
That's really interesting. It's like he's giving his brain time to digest the information in stages. Okay. Nice start. Now, what's the next technique?
The second technique is the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle. He's found that for any given company, there are usually just 3 to 4 metrics that really drive stock performance. Everything else is just noise.
Can you give an example of how this works in practice?
Sure. He talked about his experience covering Apple. While everyone was focused on iPhone unit sales, he found that the real insight came from analysing the App Store's growth rate and services revenue. These metrics, which made up about 20% of the discussion on earnings calls, were actually driving 80% of the company's multiple expansion.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like finding the signal in the noise. Okay, let's move on to the next technique.
The third technique is the Fineman technique, named after physicist Richard Fineman. It's all about explaining complex ideas in simple terms. Every morning before the market opens, he takes one key idea from his research and explains it to someone outside his sector.
That sounds challenging. What happens if they don't understand?
Well, that's the beauty of it. If they don't understand, he knows he hasn't thought it through clearly enough. It's a great way to ensure you really grasp what you're talking about and aren't just parroting complex terms.
I can see how that would be valuable. It's one thing to understand something yourself, but explaining it to others really tests your knowledge. What's the fourth technique?
The fourth technique is quite interesting. It's about learning at double speed. He has a specific process for earnings calls where he first listens at 1.8x speed, focusing on tone and overall narrative. Then he reads the transcript, highlighting key phrases, and finally compares these highlighted sections with previous quarters. Increasingly, he's using AI tools to build scale to this process. This is something that is evolving on a weekly basis at the moment.
That's clever. It's like he's training himself to pick up on the most important information quickly. What's the fifth technique?
The fifth technique might surprise you. It's the power of handwriting. Despite all our digital tools, neuroscience shows that the physical act of writing engages different parts of your brain than typing. He uses a small notebook for initial impressions during calls, a larger journal for weekly pattern recognition, and writes monthly summaries of key themes by hand.
That's unexpected in this digital age, but I can see how it might help you engage with the information differently. What about the sixth technique?
The sixth technique is the multi-source learning approach. He looks at quantitative data, qualitative insights, industry expertise, and market sentiment. The key is looking for places where these sources disagree. That's often where the most valuable insights emerge.
So he's not just relying on one type of information, he's looking at the big picture and trying to spot inconsistencies.
Exactly. It's about triangulating information from different sources to get a more complete picture. And when these sources disagree, that's often where you can find unique insights that others might miss.
That makes a lot of sense. And what's the final technique?
The final technique is self-testing. But it's not about quizzing yourself on numbers. Every Friday he spends 30 minutes writing down what surprised him that week, which of his assumptions were wrong, what patterns he's seeing, and what he might be missing.
So it's more about reflection and challenging your own assumptions. These techniques seem applicable beyond just market analysis. Do you think they could be used in other fields?
Absolutely. These techniques could be applied to many other fields beyond market analysis. Whether you're a student, a professional, or just someone interested in learning more effectively, there's a lot to take away from this. Think about fields like medicine, law, or even journalism. They all require processing large amounts of information, quickly and accurately.
And that's a great point. It's not just about the information itself, but how we interact with it. Do you think there's a risk of information overload with some of these techniques, though?
That's a valid concern. Information overload is a real issue in our digital age, but I think that's where techniques like the 80-20 rule become crucial. It's about identifying what's truly important and focusing your energy there. It's not about absorbing more information, but about being more selective and intentional with what you learn.
Well said. It's like creating a more efficient learning process rather than just trying to cram more into your brain. Speaking of which, do you think AI and machine learning might play a role in this kind of analysis in the future?
That's an interesting question. AI and machine learning are certainly becoming more prevalent in financial analysis. They can process vast amounts of data much faster than humans. But I think there will always be a need for human insight and interpretation. Maybe it's about using AI to handle the level 1 metrics our analyst mentioned, freeing up human analysts to focus on the deeper, more nuanced analysis.
That's fascinating. It really shows how these learning techniques aren't just about dealing with today's challenges, but also preparing for the future of the field.
Absolutely. And that's really the key takeaway here. Whether you're in finance, another field, or just interested in personal growth, developing effective learning strategies is crucial. It's about working smarter, not just harder.
Well, I think our listeners will have a lot to think about and experiment with after this episode.
Indeed. And remember, the challenge is to pick one of these techniques and try applying it to your own work or studies. You might be surprised at how it changes your perspective and improves your understanding. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep unlocking your potential.
Before we wrap up today's episode, I want to share something that combines my passion for markets with the power of modern technology. Throughout my career on Wall Street, where I was ranked the #1 analyst by Institutional Investor 10 times, I've always believed that institutional level investment knowledge should be accessible to everyone. That's why I created Insight One. Insight One is where my decades of market expertise meets cutting-edge educational technology. We've taken everything I've learned analyzing markets and working with major financial institutions and transformed it into an interactive learning experience. The platform uses advanced technology to adapt how this knowledge is delivered, making complex investment concepts clear and actionable for every type of learner. This fusion of deep market wisdom and sophisticated edtech is what makes Insight One unique. Whether you're just starting your investment journey or looking to sharpen your skills, you'll have access to the same level of analysis and insights that I provided to institutional investors throughout my career. You can find us on the App Store, on Google Play, or on our website, theinvestmentanalyst.com. So start your journey. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.